First in the news, Alex Eala has captured the biggest title of her career after stunning world number 3 Jessica Pegula in the Mubadala DC Open Final. The Filipina star fought back from a set down to win 4-6, 6-4, 6-love. Eala claimed her first WTA Tour level and WTA 500 crown after a giant slaying run that also saw her defeat Zheng Qinwen, Leylah Fernandez, Elina Svitolina, and Naomi Osaka. The historic win lifted Eala 8 spots to a career-high world number 20. She now heads to the Canadian Open in Toronto, where she is seated 25th and has a first-round bye. So what is delayed is not denied. This was the match that was rained out. It was scheduled for August 3 midnight Philippine time, and then they moved it to 3 a.m. It was still raining. Then hindi na talaga kinaya, so they moved it to another day. Alex actually came in behind when they resumed play. She was the score was 4-6, 2-1. But this is not the first time that Alex has also won via comeback. She defeated Leylah Fernandez. She was down 5-1 in the second set. So, you know, we're seeing something so amazing for Filipinos. She's opening up the world of tennis to so many kids who are inspired by her, who want to be like her, and of course, as titas, hindi ko kasama sa titas, sorry. Ate. As the ate. Diba? We're just so proud. Like, it's just so wonderful to watch.
Yes, we're so happy for Alex. When I read the news earlier this morning, I got goosebumps, right? We're so happy because this is her first WTA title in a singles tournament. And after her game and after her match, she said it was just an explosion of emotions because I don't know if you saw the video, right? After she realized she won the title, she fell to the ground. She was, overwhelmed with all these emotions. Because as she mentioned, there were nerves building up for weeks, right? And to win this title, oh my gosh, it means so much for Alex. But it won't be long until we watch Alex again because she will be competing in the National Bank Open on Wednesday. Right? So that's in Toronto, Canada. And as early as now, tickets are already sold out for the opening game. So imagine the impact that she has made.
And it's I can tell the feeling of how she won this match because sabi nga natin yesterday, this was no easy fit for her because Pagudala, di ba, defeated her already in the first game. Pero ito, nanalo siya. So congratulations. It's really amazing to see or to witness her journey, di ba? From coming in from 100 plus ranks until now, 20, tama ba? 20 na siya. So congratulations kay Eala. We are very proud of you. And speaking of kids, no, over the weekend, we went to Celebrity Sports near our place and I saw a lot of little kids. Nagpa-play sila ng tennis. Nagpapaturo sila. Tennis lessons sila doon. So sabi ko, these gusto talaga nilang maging Alex Eala. But yun nga, isa lang din sa favor ko lang sa mga tao, sa mga kapwa Filipino natin, kapwa kapatid natin because there are a lot of tawag dito, mga nakita ko sa social media questioning or talking about the color of her clothes, linking it to mga political alliances. So sabi ko gano'n, please lang, do not touch her. Diba? Si Alex Eala na nga lang yung nagli-link sa atin na we can be a united nation, united country because of her. Tapos lagyan nyo pa ng not her, please. Huwag po natin lagyan ang political color yan.
Can't she just wear green? Because she wants to.
Exactly.
Naka-power color na yan. She looked really good in green yesterday.
Ayun lang. Basta congratulations. And do not touch her. The office of the Vice President Sara Duterte allegedly violated audit rules in spending 125 billion pesos in confidential funds. Former COA Auditor Roderick Wamil told the impeachment court that the OVP submitted an incomplete financial plan and used some funds for expenses not allowed under the rules. These included 40 million pesos for medical and food assistance as well as payments to informants without proof of successful intelligence operations. Wamil also said the OVP submitted only acknowledgement receipts for goods, medicines, supplies, furniture, and computers without official receipts or invoices. The prosecution also presented receipts bearing the names Mary Grace Piatos, Renan Piatos, Andy Lim, Miko Harina, and Alejandro Piquit. Mary Grace Piatos supposedly received 70,000 pesos for medicine, while Renan Piatos received 110,000 pesos for the purchase of information.
In the name of Odi or Andy C. Lim for 50,000 pesos. Andilim. Kanya ko pala hindi mabasa. Andilim. Para kay Andilim.
December 27, 2023 is outside the coverage po nung kanilang period of disbursement, which is December 21 to 31, 2022.
Kung merong Andilim, siguro dahil
Objection,
pikit.
Your Honor. I'm sorry, but I've been giving leeway to opposing counsel, but I think she's been coloring, the contents of the documents more than what is shown
Your
in the
Honor, I'm
document
just reading. It
itself.
says here. And
No,
counsel
Your
can
Honor.
It says Andilim.
Sorry, Pawi, wala yung Mickey Mango mo.
Your favorite.
Baka
Mickey
naman
Mango.
mapag-usapan pa nila yan sa mga susunod na araw.
nako.
Because we have to remember, ito pa lang daw yung from December 21 to
Yes.
31, 2023. Baka lumabas si Mickey Mango.
Mickey Mango. Pero may bago akong favorite eh. Oo.
Sino?
Si Sis Fronyo.
Balsac.
Diba? New characters unlocked eh. Ang dami.
Ang dami. Pero yun nga sinasabi nila, they cannot just say na ito ay talagang mga aliases lang. Dahil we will know throughout the hearing, we'll see. No? Pero yun nga, focus muna tayo dun sa napag-usapan yesterday, what happened there. Of course, the prosecution presented 15 boxes containing documentary evidence in relation nga dito sa alleged misuse ng confidential funds ni VP Sara Duterte. And if you can remember, I've always asked this to our guest here, why does the Office of the Vice President have confidential funds? Now, I understand that the Congress approved that budget, but yun nga, she was the one who asked for this diba? So, kailangan din natin ng accountability, liquidation nito, which is yun yung they were trying to prove yesterday, yung what you call this, yung prosecution. Because they're saying outside the disbursement period, which is yung 2022, December 21 to 31, ay supposedly nangyari yung project, but the ARs or the acknowledgement receipts, ang date noon ay 2023. And we all know naman what an acknowledged receipt is, di ba? Yung parang lang yan, kaliwaan lang yan. So, dapat mismong date lang din supposedly yon. Pero, aside from this, nasabi din ng COA, acknowledgement receipts are not enough. Kailangan may mga documentary evidence or documents that support that claim. And number one also, there's no physical financial plan, which is very important daw sa confidential fund according sa rules na kinakailangan ng isang tao, isang opisyal na merong confidential funds ay meron silang plano kung bakit nila gagawin ito, para saan, anong goal, and what budget are you allocating for that specific plan.
To add to your question a while ago, also, why would the Department of Education need confidential funds? But also, yung isang interesting discussion yesterday was yung tinatanong nga, kaya bakit kulang yung information na binigay, kulang yung documents na binigay sa COA, yung mga pinagbilhan.
Yes.
Bakit walang resibo? Yung sinabi nga ni Attorney Wamil was, yung confidential is yung paggagamitan, not yung pinagbilhan. Because yun na nga, since it is from public funds, they have to do strict compliance. They have guidelines. So dito yung lagi na lang sinasabi, the joint circular. So he was following the guidelines listed in that joint circular, kung ano yung mga kailangan isubmit na documents to prove that the funds went where they were supposed to. Pero meron din daw siyang nasabi na there were certain purchases or certain expenses that were not in the list of allowed expenses.
Kasi, di ba, ginamit rin yung confidential funds to buy medicines, tables,
Reward,
travel
ginawang
paddles.
reward, oo.
Yeah, and even the safe houses, of
Food
course, that
aid.
were brought up now, na where 16 million pesos were spent to fund safe houses. Sabi ko nga, saan ba yan? Sa Amanpulo ba yan? 200,000 a night, diba?
11 days,
Bongga naman ng
Grabe.
safe house na yan. But yesterday, what the prosecution really emphasized is that confidential funds, and while they are confidential in nature, they are not exempt from the liquidation requirements, documentation requirements of the Commission on Audit, and they're not exempt from the scrutiny also, diba, of the auditing office. So last week, the bank managers, the bank officials highlighted that the transactions were unusual, but yesterday, Attorney Wamil stressed naman and highlighted na the audit report, the liquidation was irregular. So tignan natin how they will continue examining the witness today. Si Attorney Wamil pa rin naman, diba?
It's still direct.
Direct
Yun
Pero
examination.
wala pa yung
Oo,
cross.
totoo. And may dagdag ko lang kasi lagi ko rin yan tinatanong. I first learned about yung COA DBM circular noong 2024, if I'm not mistaken, when we were interviewing Attorney Nery Colmenares. And he pointed that out na hindi po pwede na porket confidential funds ka, ay magtago ka na lang dun nga sa mantle na may mga aliases. Meron ka pa rin pananagutan. And this is yung mga envelope na pwede mong paglagyan ng mga totoong information from that intelligence operation. And doon din daw sa COA DBM Joint Circular 2015-1 ay meron ding provision doon that states na when a public official or an accountable official fails to liquidate for public funds, meron presumption of guilt. So kailangan patunayan ng kampo ni VP Sara na napunta yung public funds or yung confidential funds niya sa tamang pamamaraan. Which is so far, during the hearing yesterday, hindi pa natin nakikita yun. Ang nakikita natin, of course, yung punto ng prosecution na hindi properly liquidated yung mga resibo at actually wala nga talagang mga official receipts. So, antabayanan din natin kung ano yung magiging sagot ng defense sa pag nag-cross-examine sila. Because sinabi ni Attorney Michael Powa, di ba, they usually don't really grant interviews kasi inaano nila yung kanilang mga, that's their strategy, no? Pero sabi niya, antabayanan natin yung magiging cross-examination nila dun sa mga witnesses or iba pang mga possible witnesses to prove na nagsasabi daw ng totoo, of course, yung kliyente nila. Yan.
Pero sabi din ni Attorney Michael, they have an explanation for how the 612.5 million pesos was spent, even including the one that was spent in 11 days lang.
Yes.
So, ano ba yung explanation na yun, di ba?
They didn't stipulate to those documents.
And kudos to Attorney Lorna Kapunan for making this impeachment trial entertaining. At least hindi tayo na-bore kahapon, di ba?
So I can sit down.
She's our spirit animal. Okay, but in other news, the National Bureau of Investigation has issued subpoenas to Batangas 1st District Representative Leandro Leviste and former Congressman Jing Paras over their alleged involvement in a supposed plot to frame Executive Secretary Ralph Recto. In an interview on The Big Story, NBI Director Melvin Matibag stressed that Leviste and Paras are presumed innocent and were summoned to respond to the allegations. He urged both men to personally appear before the NBI instead of addressing the issue solely through social media. Matibag said the agency is examining testimonial documentary and digital evidence, emphasizing that investigators will rely on the evidence and strictly follow due process throughout the investigation. Both Leviste and Paras have denied the allegations, and Paras questioned the authenticity of screenshots recovered from a talent manager's phone, while Leviste dismissed the case as a recto production and claimed Matibag was merely following orders.
Malinaw naman po yung statement ko. Sinasabi ko nga, hindi naman immediately naniniwala ang NBI na sila'y akusado, sila'y may kasalanan. Kaya nga po natin sila'y pinapatawag para sila po magbigay linaw dahil pinangalanan po sila. The only way na makapagbigay linaw ka is sumarap ka doon sa proseso. Sabi nila magsasalita sa tamang panahon, sa tamang proseso. Ito na po yung pagkakataon na magsalita at tumarap po sa proseso.
Okay, so Congressman Leviste and former Congressman Jing Paras are expected to appear before the NBI on Thursday, August 6. But interestingly, Congressman Leviste also posted something on social media, a screenshot of Director Matibag's message to him a year ago, congratulating him for winning a term as a congressman of Batangas. Sinabi pa ni Cong Leviste that NBI Director Matibag is actually a family friend and one of his mentors when he was about to enter the world of politics. Pero ang sagot dyan ni Director Matibag is no one is above the law. So, kahit friends pa sila, family friends, well, he will pursue an investigation kung may ebidensya naman talaga.
Walang kamag-anak.
Binabalikan na naman yung
binabalikan eh, no? Oo. Pero yun nga, no, sinasabi na these are all hearsay pa at this
Yes.
stage until magkaroon nga ng
Yes.
investigation, makita nila yung mga evidence because supposedly there are text messages and then there are CCTV cameras that would point out the meetup nga daw between the talent manager and former Congressman Jing Paras, and we'll see kung saan naabutin yung
Yes.
kanilang evidence.
But that's also why they were called in, di ba? Kaya nga kailangan may investigation. Because they always also emphasize that, innocent until proven guilty. But that's why the investigation is needed. So, with screenshots, with affidavits, kailangan aralin, kailangan mag-interview, tanungin kung ano yung side nito. And medyo, you see these things in the movies lang kasi.
Yan nga eh.
So,
Nag-usapan din namin kahapon nila sa Rodel, yung honey trap.
honey trap. My goodness. All right, don't go away. Morning Matters will be back after a short break.
Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. Day 12 of Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial gets underway today with the confidential fund paper trail still under the microscope. And mobile journalist Merimon Reyes will give us more details. Merimon, what can we expect today?
Pauline, for day 12 of the impeachment trial, the prosecution will continue with its direct examination of State Auditor Roderick Wamil. Kahapon kasi, pinresent na siya pero hindi pa natatapos. And around 2:30 in the afternoon, nag-wind up si Counsel of the Prosecutors, Attorney Lorna Kapunan. Kaya we're anticipating magpapatuloy ngayon ang prosec. And then later on, ang ina-anticipate din natin yung cross-examination naman on the part of the defense and possibly i-redirect or re-cross-examination later on. After naman nun, usually nagkakaroon na ng manifestation or time naman ang senator judges to throw questions dito kay Wamil.
Okay, Merimon, kahapon, onti lang yung naging objection ng defense, ano? But today, may nakaschedule na rin ba silang mag-cross-examine dito kay Attorney Wamil?
That would depend kasi kung matatapos agad yung direct examination ng prosecution dito kay Auditor Wamil, pwedeng mag-cross-exam na ang defense. Pero it's also possible kung kunwari tulad last time, wala silang makita pa na anything na questionable. Baka 1 or 2 questions lang yung ibabato nila unless mayroon silang magiging strategy tungkol dyan. So, ang working time pa rin naman kasi ng impeachment trial is 10 a.m. to supposedly 3 p.m. Pero kahapon kasi nakita natin 2:30 natapos na muna yung impeachment trial. Kaya wala rin talagang time during kahapon na makapag-cross-exam ang defense. So, it will really depend sa time and motion ng prosecution. Pauline.
Merimon, kung tatanungin ng prosecution, ano ba yung na-establish na nila base sa testimony ni Attorney Wamil kahapon?
Pauline, nilay down na muna nila itong paggamit. Kasi last week, ang pinaka-tinutukan nila is yung flow ng pera from the National Treasury papunta dito sa cash withdrawals, saka doon sa SDOs o yung Special Disbursement Officers ng OVP pati ng DepEd. Ngayon, hinihimay-himay na nila isa-isa kung saan napupunta supposedly. And yun yung lumalabas sa nakita muna na pag-audit ni Auditor Wamil na nag-purchase ang OVP, nasa OVP pa lang tayo, ng tables, chairs, printers, desktops, computers, medicines in 2022 pero they could not show enough proof na nagamit ito at kung nabayaran ba yung informants supposedly for the confidential activities of the OVP. Doon din na isa-isa na, though hindi pa ito lahat, yung mga acknowledgement receipt supposedly nang nakatanggap. Kabilang na dyan sila Mary Grace Piatos, itong si Andy Lim, si Renan Piatos, and others. Pero ang nasabi pa kasi kahapon ni Attorney Kapunan, nasa 800 na mga dokumento ang i-authenticate at pwedeng ipakita kasabay ng pagpe-present nila dito kay State Auditor Wamil.
Merimon, ano ba yung impeachable offense na talagang ine-emphasize dito ng prosecution?
Pauline, ito kasi yung sa article of impeachment, yung alleged misuse ng public funds or confidential funds. Lagi pumapasok din dito yung betrayal din ng public trust and such. Pero ang titingnan din kasi natin ngayon, yung kung paano mag-unfold itong presentation nila on the part of the prosecution kasi 31 trial days ang nakalaan. And yung voluminous na documents na kanilang ipepresenta, yun yung ipapakita nila as of now. Nung unang araw nitong article of impeachment na ito, nilay muna nila yung pinaka-foundation ng pag-uusapan. Ngayon, hinihimay-himay na nila isa-isa kung paano ito supposedly nagasta at kung may mali nga doon sa nagasta. On the part of the defense naman, may isa kasing stipulation na hindi sila pumayag Ito yung stipulate na nakatanggap ang OVP ng confidential funds at nagastos ito in just 11 days. Hindi dito nabigay na stipulations ang defense, pero ang sinasabi nila, hindi nila sinasabi na kapag hindi sila nag-stipulate doon, ay forged yung acknowledgement receipts na pinapakitang nagastos in just 11 days itong pera. Ang sinasabi lang nila, hindi nila ito alam. And they're also making sure na wala raw malalabag sa karapatan and yung due process din ng kanilang client, which is Vice President Sara Duterte. Pauline.
All right, thank you very much for those updates. I was mobile journalist Mary Mon Reyes. Now, House Private Prosecutor Attorney Amando Verhil-Ligutan said the prosecution remains comfortable with how proceedings are unfolding inside the Senate impeachment court, stressing that the panel entered the trial well prepared for different scenarios. In an interview with One News's Political Beat, Ligutan also did not rule out the possibility of presenting the Office of the Vice President's Chief of Staff, Zuleika Lopez, as a witness later on in the impeachment proceedings. He likewise dismissed speculation fueled by discussions on social media, emphasizing that the prosecution will not compromise its evidence or legal strategy and remains focused on presenting its case before the impeachment court. Ligutan also reflected on his journey into the legal profession, sharing that the impeachment trial of former President Joseph Estrada inspired him to become a lawyer.
Kami naman sa prosecution, ginagawa namin lahat na kung po pwede walang surprises, di ba? So, luckily, fortunately, walang mga tinatawag natin na mga curveballs. Parang minimal. So, the prosecution, we expect things, and then usually yung ini-expect namin, yun yung nangyayari, Lord, inside the impeachment court. Yeah. Kino-consider yung social media aspect, pero hindi yun yung nagko-control in how do we proceed with the impeachment trial.
And now in the weather, two low-pressure areas are bringing rains over parts of Luzon. The first, formerly Tropical Depression Luis, was last located near Bagao, Cagayan. The second was spotted over the coastal waters of Balawan, La Union. The weather systems are bringing scattered rains and thunderstorms over the Ilocos region, Cordillera, Cagayan Valley, and Central Luzon. Meanwhile, Typhoon Dolphin remains far outside the Philippine area. The southwest monsoon is also affecting Metro Manila, Calabarzon, Mimaropa, and parts of western Visayas. Now, the Philippines is once again taking center stage in badminton as it hosts the inaugural Philippine Junior International Series, bringing together some of the world's top young shuttlers while giving local talents a chance to compete on home soil. Mobile journalist Denise Valdesancho has this report.
The Philippine Junior International Series gets underway this week at Gameville Central Park in Mandaluyong City, with around 30 countries expected to take part in the 6-day competition. Coming right after the successful staging of the Philippine International Challenge, the tournament marks another major step in the country's efforts to grow badminton at the grassroots level. For organizers, hosting the inaugural edition is about more than medals. It's about showing the world what Filipino badminton has to offer.
I'd like to say that this is one for the books. We wanted to showcase two things. The first one is that Filipino badminton, be it at the senior or at the junior level, is world class. The second thing is we wanted to showcase what world class badminton looks like. And hopefully by doing so, more and more young people, more and more young Filipinos get advised, inspired, and motivated to reach that level.
The event also gives young athletes from across the country a rare opportunity to compete against elite international opponents without having to travel abroad. The Philippines will be represented by members of PBAD Smash Pilipinas, including 2026 Palarong Pambansa gold medalist Cristel Fuentespina and Roaquin Ramos. For the national team coaches, the tournament will help determine how the country's development program stacks up against some of the world's strongest junior squads.
Of course, I want to see them battle it out with the best junior teams of the other countries. Yun naman ang gusto natin makita eh. Gusto rin natin na parang full support. Lahat ng mga families and syempre, iba din ang full support tayo. Gusto natin ibigay sa atin yung support at tignan kung hanggang gano'ng malayo kayang dalhin ng ating training at kung saan pa tayo pwede mag-improve.
Qualifying matches begin Tuesday, with the main draw starting Wednesday and the finals set for Sunday. As the Philippines welcomes the world's best young shuttlers, local players will look to turn home court advantage into a breakthrough performance. Mobile journalist Denise Valdez-Sancho, we are One News.
Don't go away because Money Talks with Kathy Yang is up next to get you ahead of the markets. I'm Pauline Verzosa. Stay tuned to One News.
Good morning mga kapatid. Welcome back to Morning Matters.
On day 11 of Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial, former COA Auditor Roderick Wamil testified on the OVP's 125 billion peso confidential fund spending. Wamil flagged deficiencies in the office's financial plan, accomplishment report, and liquidation documents. He said about 40 million pesos was used for medical and food assistance, while payments to informants lacked proof of successful intelligence operations. The prosecution also presented receipts bearing the names Mary Grace Piatos and Renan Piatos. Wamil, however, said his audit did not verify whether the name recipients actually existed.
Now, what could the COA testimony mean for the case against Vice President Sara Duterte, and where does the trial go from here? Well, joining us this morning is lawyer and law dean, Attorney J.V. Bautista. Attorney, welcome back to the program.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning. Pauline,
Yes.
and Cesca and Angela.
Yes.
And to all your viewers.
Of course.
Good morning.
Well, we have a lot to unpack this morning after
Yes.
yesterday's trial hearing. But Attorney, first of all, what stood out to you in the testimony of Attorney Roderick Wamil?
Well, what stood out was the misuse of confidential funds. It was becoming very clear. Although I was really hoping for a little more drama sana, no? Kasi accounting things are quite complicated, especially to laymen and even to lawyers. I mean, we don't exactly understand everything that's been taken up there, no? Of course, we know what a COA circular is and how it is applied and how it needs to be complied with and obeyed, no? However, these are numbers, and usually lawyers are not very good at numbers. I would have preferred somebody. I don't know. I cannot pick from the house managers right now. Perhaps, maybe yes, Lorna Kapunan would have been the best one they can get to put in there because she's a seasoned litigator. But you see, I've always maintained that in this impeachment trial, it is not really courtroom demeanor and litigation that will carry the day.
It's true.
It is really being able to communicate to the public effectively what is happening inside the impeachment court. No, I do not want to consider the space inside the Senate as a courtroom. I don't like the idea. So I don't like lawyers tangling with each other. Fortunately, yesterday, the defense counsel was not that active in objecting.
Yeah.
They were not really very, among us lawyers, it is natural for us to object.
What did you make of that, Attorney?
I am not sure what is their strategy, but I'm not convinced that Vice President Sara is being well represented by lawyers. I mean, take a look at the past, no? President Erap Estrada was represented by a former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Andres Narvasa, and also one of the top litigators of the land, Estelito Mendoza. And then you have the case of Chief Justice Corona, who was represented by a retired Supreme Court Justice himself.
There's a Nervasa in her team.
Narvasa is in the team, but he's not saying anything. I was hoping that it would be somebody like Fortun, Siegfried Fortun, or Gregorio Narvasa, the son of the late Chief Justice, who would be there at the forefront. With all due respect to Attorney Powa, I have never really known him or encountered him in the litigation circles. You know, as litigators, we know each other. And we hear of reputations of each other. You know that Lorna Kapunan is a celebrity lawyer because she represents many celebrities. And we were able to tangle with each other when the names of the children of Dennis Padilla were concerned. No, they were changing the names, and Dennis Padilla came to me for legal assistance, and I tangled with Lorna Kapunan. No? She's a good lawyer, good litigator. She knows the law. Unfortunately, I don't think Attorney Poa is on that level. I've never known him. The first time I saw him was when he was chief of staff of the vice president. You know, being chief of staff does not really require being a good or brilliant lawyer or a good litigator. His courtroom presence is not really that inspiring. Perhaps he can conduct press conferences very efficiently, but when it comes to the courtroom presence, you know, you have to have the demeanor, you have to have the presence, you have to have the command. He was, pardon me, but he was objecting to answers. You do not object to answers. A lawyer objects to questions. When a question is already answered, you can no longer object because the answer is there.
So, do you feel that Attorney Poa has been too lenient when it comes to the prosecution? Because yesterday he objected to the answer of yung ang confidential ay pagagamitan at hindi ang pinagbilhan. And then the other objection also was when Attorney Lorna Kapunan was reading the names, like Andilim. He said that she was coloring the proceeding.
I think Attorney Poe was getting to be very diplomatic. Whenever he speaks, ang unang sabi niya, with all due respect to the adverse counsel, to the opposing counsel, with all due respect. Laging ganun. Ano? To me, I do not use that. When you litigate, you completely demolish and destroy the other party. That's how you do it.
So you want the defense to be more aggressive, Attorney?
You have to be aggressive.
Because what if their strategy is that they want to be more calm? Because right now, they're already being seen as the antagonists in this trial.
That's correct. And I think that's where the prosecution is ahead of them, in a way. Because from the point of view of PR or social media even, but this is not being helped by the pro-VP lawyers, no, like the Cayetano siblings or Robin Padilla, because they are now being cast as antagonists. Yung sila ang kontrabida dito eh. And the successive objections, one after the other, of Binluan and the third generation Narvasa, was also turning off a lot of people watching the impeachment. Kasi nakaka-turn off naman talaga yung sobrang daming objection. But when you make good objections, and you are able to stop the questioning because the answers or the question itself would elicit inadmissible evidence, then you will score a good point. No? Makikita ng tao, magaling itong lawyer. As I said, no, just to repeat, a lawyer does not object to an answer.
Pero
you only
Attorney,
object to a question.
I want to ask you dun sa naging hearing yesterday. So having said that, do you think that the prosecution has the upper hand right now in terms of presenting evidences? And do you think that at the point yesterday, the prosecution has already established that there is really a misuse of the confidential fund? And can you point out which one? Kung saan doon na pinakita talaga na there's misuse?
Well, the COA state auditor, who happens also to be a lawyer, kasi he referred to a COA circular
joint 2015.
2015-01, and he was stating categorically, sabi niya, hindi compliant yung mga purchases, yung mga reimbursements, hindi compliant yan sa circular. So doon pa lang makikita mo malaking problema nitong confidential funds. Kaya lang, the prosecution should have been able to project more than that, more than the technical aspect. Number one, bakit sa dinami-dami ng mga vice president, si Sara Duterte lang ang humingi at binigyan ng confidential fund? Binay did not have confidential funds. I was with Binay for 6 years. I was one of his political consultants, and I was a spokesperson for Binay for 6 years. He did not get any confidential funds.
And he did not request either.
He didn't ask. Kasi Lenny Robredo, the same, di ba? Ano ba naman ang trabaho ng Vice President?
Spare time.
Maghihintay ka lang. Spare time, no? Maghihintay ka lang something happens to the President. Di ba? What does... well, theoretically, she's in the executive department. But she doesn't do anything as Vice President.
Ba't kasi binigyan? The budget, the Congress, di ba, approved the budget. Oh.
Palagay ko, kasi remember, she was still in good terms with BBM at that time. And probably BBM said, sige, may pondo dito, kunin mo. Gawin natin confidential funds.
Kasi dahil ba hindi siya pinagbigyan to be the D&D secretary?
Kasi hindi niya nakuha. But here's the thing, So sinabi ni State Auditor Wamil, this is the first time na nag-audit siya ng Vice President because it's not been done before. Hindi ginagawa nung past Vice President yan, ni Binay or ni Robredo. Ito pa lang. Now, how much was the confidential fund of the Vice President? 500 million. Kalahating bilyon agad. Pagkatapos, hindi pa nagkasya doon, humingi pa ng confidential fund for the DepEd in the tune of 112.5 million. So, 612.5 total yan sabi rin ni Wamil, he has never encountered confidential funds for the DepEd. Remember that the DepEd has the largest budget of all departments by virtue of constitutional mandate. Sabi ng Constitution the Department of Education will always have the biggest budget. Bakit hingi ka pa ng confidential fund? Tapos ang ginagamit yung confidential fund? Chairs, tables. Hindi naman po pwede yun
Safe house.
Hindi po pwede yun, safe house. Kasi, sabi ng COA, pag humingi ka ng confidential fund, kailangan mag-submit ka ng physical and financial plan.
PFP.
You have to be careful with public funds You cannot just do away with it. Regular disbursement of public funds, kailangan meron kang procurement Mahigpit yan. Every purchase and every contract, supplies, etc. should go through bidding processes, with a few exceptions, pagka mga emergency. Pero kailangan niya mag-bidding, dadaan yan sa procurement proceedings, procedure. Dito sa confidential fund, walang ganon. Walang ganon. Kaya, the circular must be very, very strict about the use of confidential fund. Kasi kaya-kaya gamitin But you know what what is going on in my mind? Itong si Sara Duterte, kasi, remember, mayor yan sa Davao Di ba? And she was mayor when her father was president. And a mayor can ask for confidential funds. Hindi ganyan kalaking 600 million, Millions din. And I think that as mayor of Davao, siyempre, siga sila ron, Duterte sila, they just take the confidential funds. No questions asked. Wala nang audit yan. Kinukuha na lang yan. In the crudest way I can put it, binubulsa. They were pocketing the money. Ngayon, itong si Vice President Sara Duterte, apparently to me, nasanay sa Davao 6 years. Kuha lang ng pera, confidential fund. Nobody asks. Di ba? Ngayon, naging Vice President. It happens. Kakampi niya yung presidente.
Okay lang.
And then she learned, meron pala ditong ganitong kalaki. Sige, kunin mo na. Okay lang. So, kinuha niya. Ang problema, she did not spend it properly naman. Kasi, siguro yung ugali niya sa Davao na kinukuha lang niya yung pera and pocketing it, I think it permeated up to the office of the Vice President and the DepEd. That is what happened. Kasi nobody could account for the funds Saan pumunta yung 612.5 million na yan? Nobody knows. Di ba? Yung COA, ang daming flinag. Sinabi lang, hindi pwede yan for desk. Hindi pwede yan for chairs. Bawal yan Hindi pwede yan for reimbursement. Bawal yun Bawal yan under the circular. Kaya, ang kaya lang sabihin siyempre ng COA, it's non-compliant. No, these are technical terms. That was why I was stating in the beginning, I wished that the prosecution could have been more graphic and a bit, dramatic lang ng konti, to be able to project that hundreds of millions of money, people's money, are being taken and pocketed by this official who is now under impeachment. Yun ang kailangan na ipresenta That is what, sa bagay, in fairness to them, hindi pa naman tapos.
Yes.
No?
Bilang isang lawyer po ba? Kasi
Yes.
meron ako that caught my attention eh. Sabi po nila, there's an important provision in the COA DBM Joint Circular 2015. And it says yung 8.1 doon, when a public official or an accountable official fails to liquidate for public funds, meron presumption of guilt.
Yes.
So kailangan po ba, sino ang kailangan magpatunay? Ang prosecution na kailangan po ba nilang patunayan na may ibang pinuntahan yung pera or okay na lang na mapakita sa tao na may misuse talaga? Or the defense na kailangan nilang patunayan na meron talaga mga Mary Grace Piatos under a actual person?
The position kasi of the defense has always been, kasi ang approach nila rito parang criminal prosecution. No? Ang sabi nila, kasi pag criminal case yan,
all elements.
merong presumption of innocence, di ba? So, you don't even need to present evidence if the prosecution cannot present sufficient evidence to convict. Ganyan ang principle ng criminal law.
Yeah.
Of course, this is not criminal law. This is not a criminal trial. This is a sui generis trial of impeachment, a class of its own. Ang kailangan lang dito, clear and convincing evidence. As to your question, of course, the onus, yung responsibility niyan lies with the prosecution. They need to prove. Kasi sila nag-allege. Sila nagsabi na may misuse. Di ba? I think the word misuse here is a little bit, tame benign. It's not misuse to me,
Oh, what should it be, Attorney?
It's pocketing. It's plunder. This is plunder, plain and simple. To me, And I think the prosecution should be able to develop a case na hindi lang ito misuse, misappropriation, ganyan. Hindi lang ganyan yan. This is stealing public money, public coffers. Sabay, tama naman yung nila. Culpable violation of the Constitution. Yan ang Article 1, graft and corruption and betrayal of public trust. Of course, these are broad terms na pwede mo naman i-shoot dyan yan. Kasi ito, graft and corruption ito. Because it goes into the crime of plunder already. And plunder, remember, is only 50 million. This is 612.5 million. Where did that money go? Di ba?
So as early as now, Attorney, has the prosecution already established that the misuse of confidential funds and that this is an impeachable offense? Do you think they will be able to secure a conviction for this article?
Not yet at this stage, no, not yet. I think the evidence for and the proof for Article 1 is only beginning to develop.
Okay.
They're doing a good thing. Good enough yan, no? Ang first witness nila was presented last week. Remember, it was Congressman Joel Chua who presented.
Yes.
I think he did a pretty good job.
Former land bank manager.
Oo, yung land bank manager. Kaya lang yun, mga checky-checky lang naman yun. These are technical matters that even the defense naman can stipulate. When you stipulate, you both agree to a fact which you no longer need to prove in court. Kasi stipulated na Nagkasundo na kayo. And so, the court will take notice of that na ito, admitted fact na to. Hindi na kailangan i-prove. I think yesterday, may mga ganon, except that meron yatang hindi in-stipulate si Attorney Poa. When it came to the matter of the 800 plus documents, ayaw
yung
niya.
mga ARs.
Sabi naman ni Kapunan, teka muna common yan pati kayo nga, sa inyo nang galing yan because these are acknowledgement receipts.
Yes.
Kayong kayo nagbigay niyan sa COA as some form of liquidation documents. Kaya lang sabi nila, hindi namin sigurado kasi yung chain of custody. So pinagbibintangan nila yung COA na nasingitan yan. Kasi when you say chain of custody, sa drugs yan Sa drugs yan. Kasi mahigpit sa drugs Kailangan you go through a chain of custody. Each and every, every person who handles the drugs, kailangan recorded. Dito, ang sinasabi ni Powa, that's why I said, I'm not really impressed
Convinced,
with this lead prosecutor, lead defense.
Yeah.
He happens to be the lead defense. Kung ang lead defense yan, mabuti pa kung si Sigfrid Fortuna lang He was my classmate in the College of Law of UP. Kaya I have a high regard to him. And then, of course, Attorney Narvaza.
UP Law din naman si Attorney Poe.
I'm sorry?
UP Law rin ata si Attorney Poe
Is that so?
I think, yes,
Well,
attorney.
he should start acting more like a UP
my
lawyer. I'm sorry.
So, well, speaking of the defense, no, last week, Violeta Constantino and Ninita Camposano basically established that the funds were withdrawn from
Yes.
their respective land bank branches.
Yes.
The defense did not cross-examine, they didn't deny that the funds were withdrawn. And then yesterday, we heard Attorney Wamil basically testify to irregularities
Yes.
and discrepancies.
Yes.
So where do you see the defense going? Will they cross this time? Where should they focus on if and when they do their cross-examination?
It's a disaster for the defense not to conduct a cross-examination. They cannot do without a cross-examination. They need to conduct one. Ano? Kasi ang problema lang dito kasi yung procedure ng impeachment court eh. I was hoping that there was talk of varying the procedure. Kasi ang gusto ngayon nung impeachment court through Chis Escudero, kaya medyo critical ako kay Chis eh. I-present muna yung 4 na articles, di ba?
Dapat
And then tsaka
alternate.
mag-defend. Oo. So okay lang naman, ganun eh. They did not change it. Mas maganda sana, article, magko-cross yan, ano? And then, evidence for the defense. Para mag-join na yung issues. Para maintindihan na ng tao. Eh hindi, hihintay yung matapos lahat eh. Kaya lang, yung going back to Cesca's question about the necessity for conducting a cross-examination. If they don't conduct a cross-examination, it's their own doom. Kasi, I think after the completion of the prosecution evidence, insofar as the confidential funds are concerned, makikita na yung full picture eh. And if you do not question that, or if you do not try to demolish the presentation of the prosecution, it's their own lookout. Ano yan? It will lead to conviction. Right now, to me, Article 4 has been proven. Wala nang question yun eh. Kasi, ang linaw eh. It's on television.
Okay,
It's public knowledge. Everybody saw it. Now, the only question is whether, in the mind of the impeachment court and of the public, of the viewing public, that would be enough to get the Vice President out of office. To me, it's more than sufficient, yung Article 4. Eto, you're now going into funds. Ang problema lang kasi dito, you're taking this up in an institution where most of the members are so used to getting commissions. Di ba? Mga corrupt din yung mga congressman eh. Tsaka yung mga senador eh.
Ano ba sabihin mo?
They
Walang tulak kabigi.
Oo eh. They get kickbacks eh from their projects. Kaya lang sila, syempre, kasi alam mo yung mga projects ng mga congressman tsaka mga senador. Ang binabayaran dyan ng gobyerno, yung kontratista. Okay? Hindi naman pumupunta yan doon sa public official eh. Babayaran yung kontratista. Yung kontratista, papartihan yung congressman o senador. In some instances, the only instance na sila ang tumatanggap pag sila na yung kontratista. Ang dami ng congressman na kontratista, di ba? They're congressmen and kontratista.
Attorney, I want to cut you there, but I
Yeah.
want to ask you about the names that we've heard yesterday, di ba, during the
Oh,
trial.
Mary Grace Piatos.
Mary Grace Piatos, you have Andy Lim,
Yes.
you have Alejandro
Atiting.
Piquit, Cisfronio Balsac, di ba, yung mga rami. And you cannot fault the people na natatawa sila kasi ganon.
Ridiculous names.
O yun.
Ridiculous
So sabi niyo
names.
po kanina meron kayo nakausap na former intelligence officer.
Oh yeah, high ranking.
Oo, so tama ba na ganun yung mga pangalan?
Sa akin, iniisip ko nga eh, I'm imagining, when they were accomplishing this, itong kanilang yung mga liquidation documents na yan, na they're actually engaging in some kind of mockery of the public system eh, and the people, no? Na, sige, pangalanan natin to, Mary Grace Piatos. Ganun. They could have resorted to more common names, more usual names, if
Juan
these
de la
are in
Cruz.
fact aliases, ano? Bakit naman ganun? Parang
Makakumakain sila ng
nire-ridicule nila
Piatos,
tayo.
no?
Parang,
I think, attorney, kasi kanina, di ba you mentioned you allege that the Vice President, back when she was still mayor of Davao,
Yes.
was so used already to pocketing quote-unquote confidential funds. Bakit
Yes.
trickle down na rin? Yung ganong klaseng behavior na sanay na sila. Sige, lagay na lang tayo ng ganitong laughable na pangalan. Di ba?
I agree.
Mary Grace Piatos.
I agree. Now, insofar as what you asked, Angela, no, about intelligence officers, yeah, I was able to talk to a high-ranking former intelligence officer who eventually became chief of staff of the armed forces. He is my friend.
Sino ba yan?
Sino?
And he told me,
Google natin.
that's the secret.
Sulat mo
That's
nga
the
dito.
secret. He told me ganito it's all right to use aliases
Yeah.
when you use intelligence or confidential funds. After all, sometimes you really do use informers. And the informers will not give their real names. They will put somebody else's name. But the question here is are these really aliases? Because there's supposed to be a list daw naman where you can counter-check. But it's not with COA. Where you can counter-check aliases, registered Kailangan naman nakarehistro yan I just don't know exactly where you can find that list, no? My friend who used to be with the intelligence service would know. The problem is if these people like Mary Grace Piatos is a completely fictitious person. Di ba? It doesn't matter whether there is somebody whose name is Mary Grace Piatos, because for all you know, Maria Makiling, who is a real person, would be hired as an informer and use Mary Grace Piatos as an alias. Legitimate yan, di ba? But if there is no one, no real person, no natural person, who actually
That's problematic.
use the money, then there's a problem there. Kasi fictitious yan. Meaning they're just getting all the money and nobody's getting it except the Vice President. Kasi siya yung may and siya yung may control niyan And this is where the suggestion of Senator Judge Ping Lacson comes into play. Kasi sabi niya, better if they will get to the prosecution, a former intelligence officer who can explain this better. Yung mga intelligence funds. I think that's a good suggestion. They should go towards that direction. Kasi kailangan ng konting shock value
What if the defense suddenly on pagdating nung time nila to present evidence brings up
Which is
these
at the end, no? At the end.
These people na claiming I am Juan de la Cruz, I am
Mary Grace
Andy Lim.
Piatos.
Okay, they will
Diba, paano?
they will be in big trouble. Kasi
Bakit?
number one, I don't know if there will be anyone that they can recruit in the public who has all that courage and bravado to go there and sit there and claim that she is Mary Grace Piatos. I think that's a very unlikely. Number two, even if she does, hindi naman tama yung mga nire-reimburse niya Hindi tama yung mga yung mga nire-receive niya Nire-receive niya for medicines. Bakit for medicines? Dapat yung medicine, pinoprocure yan Di ba? How do you know that these are the best medicines that confidential funds should be used for? So, mali talaga. Maling-mali yan. So, even if they do, I'm anticipating, yes, that maybe they will say aliases lang naman yan So, don't pay too much attention to that. However, if they try to prove people who they will allege to be utilizing these names as aliases, maloloko yung kaso nila. Baka sumabog sa mukha nila yan.
Well, Attorney, so many irregularities were flagged already, and as you mentioned earlier, it's still early in the stage. So ano po ba yung missing link na hinahanap nyo personally? What do you want to see? You said you want to see more drama, but what is the missing link that the prosecution needs to establish to prove that there was misuse of confidential funds? Because yesterday, sinabi na po ni Attorney Wamil that the Vice President herself signed these documents, diba? Kinonfirm niya. Signature yan ng Vice President. Isn't that enough? Hindi pa ba smoking gun yun?
The smoke is too little. Kasi parang implications lang yan no? Na may mga irregularities. Technical yan no? I'm looking for something more, more graphic, like somebody who can prove that this money were taken by the Vice President herself. Kaya, the testimony of itong si Madriaga somehow assumes some significance Kasi sinabi niya doon sa kanya mga salaysay, na binibigyan siya ng pera galing confidential funds na i-deliver niya sa mga supporters ni Vice President. So ginagamit ni Vice President, ibig sabihin, di ba? Ginagamit na. Kinukuha yung confidential funds, binibigay sa isang tao niya para ipamigay doon sa mga tauhan niyang iba pa. Okay, so that's being utilized not for the purpose of the confidential funds, but for other personal purposes. It's just like the money being pocketed by the Vice President. I hope they can be able to connect that, create that nexus and make the connection. Because if they are able to successfully do that, wala na, in the bag na to. Makukonvict ang Vice President.
Well, in terms of all the articles of impeachment, there was actually a recent survey by Okta. I think this just came out on Monday. It showed that bribery is the most serious impeachment charge against the VP at 43% nationwide. And then the misuse of confidential funds only came in second at 28%. So this is according to the survey. Can I just get your thoughts on that? Because you would think pera natin yan eh.
Well, Cesca, I'm not a big believer on surveys naman eh. Minsan nagkakamali rin sila eh. Masyadong konti naman yung tinatanong eh. The three of you, have you ever been surveyed?
Not
Anyone?
No.
I've been around for a long time. Not once have I been asked in a survey. So which leads me to ask, sino ba talaga mga tinatanong nila? Di ba? Now, meron namang tinatawag na, okay, reputable yan, they are able to predict, no? But when it comes to this, kasi preference yan eh, this is a very subjective thing. I don't know how the question is phrased, so I don't know how the answer is given. And they just try to project it the way they see it. Insofar as I'm concerned, I don't think bribery is the strongest. Okay. I think it was the threat to the president and the money that's being stolen. Those are the really serious and grave offenses.
Well, sabay-sabay tayo later manood.
All right, and on that note, thank you very much for sharing your insights with us as always. Very great discussion there.
Thank you so much. My pleasure. Thank you so much.
JV. All right, thank you very much. That was lawyer and law dean attorney JV Bautista.